Hey, good Tuesday morning, everyone. Welcome back. Hopefully, we're having a wonderful day out there so far. Got an update here for you on a couple of things from the tropics to some potential active weather back home here over the next week. We're going to talk about a good little bit here, but all things considered, we're in a little bit of a lull right now. We've had a pretty active start to the month. But now, as we're kind of here towards the kind of second half of the month, a little past the middle, but not quite towards the end of August, we are seeing a little bit of quieter weather, but I don't want you to get too excited because unfortunately, I don't think that's going to last forever. And I really think over the next 7 to 10 days, things are really going to start to pick up back in the tropics and back into the lower 48 with a couple of storm systems I have my eye on. So again, if you're new here, welcome. Definitely subscribe. We are trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of hurricane season, and we're knocking on the doorstep of 9,000. So we've had a great month. We've gained about 900 or so this past month. And hoping to continue that trend here over the next month and really just the rest of August as well. Also, like the video, comment, let me know where you're watching from. I promise I have been reading all the comments, but I did just start classes yesterday, although really today is my real first day of class. So I'm a little busy. Got a pretty full schedule here. But again, I do read all of them, even if I do not respond to them. So, all the kind words are very much appreciated. I think with all that said, I don't really have too much more to announce here at the beginning of the video, so we can go ahead and jump on into it and start talking about some weather here. So we'll take a look at satellite here to start off, and I'm going to start with the tropics. So we're going to take a look at the Atlantic, and then we'll take a look at satellite over the lower 48. But I like to start the video with the tropics this time of year just because generally that's what most people are tuning in for. And right now, really not much going on. So we do have a bit of a front sagging over the Atlantic Ocean here from the northeast down through the Gulf of Mexico. That is not likely to develop anything tropical, but it is one of those setups that you need to watch for, especially, for example, down here kind of at the tail of these fronts where you get some of these more robust kind of areas of convection. Sometimes those can try to spin up into tropical systems. But even if they do, generally speaking, they would move out to sea and wouldn't really be that much of a problem, at least if they develop off the southeast coastline. Now, if we were to develop in the Gulf of Mexico, then yeah, we could have problems. But again, that's not really expected over the next 7 days, just kind of a pattern recognition thing there to watch for. We do have some showers and storms down near the Yucatan and into Central America. Again, nothing expected to form out of that, but we are watching it. And over the main development region, or kind of, the area that we would most expect development this time of year, yeah, not much going on either. We've got one little wave out there trying to maybe make something out of itself, but again, not very impressive looking, and the models aren't really latching onto it. Now, what I do want you to look at, though, is back over Africa. Take a look at this big kind of wave that is slowly moving over West Africa. Will eventually get out here into the Atlantic. This is a sign of things to come. And even if this wave itself doesn't develop, I do expect more waves that are currently over Africa to slowly work their way over the Atlantic and have a shot at development. And some of our overnight models are picking up on one of these waves potentially trying to make something happen here in the next 7 days or so. And we'll take a look at that here in just a moment. But again, right now we're in a lull. Ernesto we've been talking about now no longer, even on the map. It's just kind of this little swirl way at the top of your screen here. So we're gonna kind of take advantage of this quiet period, maybe rest a little bit before, again, I think things probably get active once again. And just to kind of show you this a different way, the National Hurricane Center not expecting any development over the next 7 days. Again, Ernesto, the only thing on the map, and likely he won't be here within the next 24 to 48 hours. So definitely a quiet period, and it's not super uncommon. We do have these stretches of more quiet time in the tropics. Even in years that are expecting more tropical activity. It does not take much. Again, September, we still have all of September to get through and all of October. September especially is an active month. October can be kind of a wild card month that very often turns out to produce a lot of tropical activity as well. So do not let your guard down. Do not assume hurricane season is over just because you haven't heard anything big in a while. And even with Ernesto, again, that didn't even impact the United States, and we still had some houses in North Carolina get taken out to sea by the surf. So it's one of those things you really got to pay attention to, and you can never take both eyes off the tropics. But right now, it is okay to have just one eye on it. As again, we're in that little bit of a lull, but that wasn't totally unexpected. I've talked about that probably the last 5 days or so. We would have a small lull after Ernesto, and then again, I'm still in the thought process that last couple of days of August into the start of September, things will pick back up. And just to show you that, or show that to you here, This is our latest GFS model run, or the American model run. And notice this is, I'll actually back this up a little bit. This is now through this week. So this is now through Friday afternoon. We get to Friday afternoon, you're looking at the Atlantic and you're saying, well, there's still nothing out there. When is it coming? Well, I think going into this coming weekend and next week, things pick back up. For example, you'll notice a couple of these waves getting off the coast of Africa. And the important thing to note here is where they are in terms of latitude. If we want a storm to develop, which I'm not saying we do, but if you're a hurricane and you want to develop, you generally want to be at or south of the Cape Verde Islands here, or Cabo Verde Islands, however you want to pronounce it, for the highest chance of development. And recently they've been coming off right over the islands or north of the islands into all this dry Sahara dust. That looks to change, though. Again, I think going into this weekend, next week, this is this coming Monday, Sunday going into Monday, notice a couple of these waves here at the bottom of your screen rolling off of Africa here at a more southern latitude, and potentially trying to develop. The GFS, in fact, does develop one of these in about 7 to 10 days out here, getting right into the start of September. You'll notice we have a tropical storm there to track. So, definitely something I think we need to watch. And this isn't, I'm not flip-flopping or changing my opinion. Again, the past couple of days I said we'll have a lull until the end of August, start of September. And I know it's the 20th of August and a lot of people want to consider that the end, but we're still kind of just in the later half of the middle of the month. Now, from kind of the 26th onward, that is more what I mean when I say the end of August. So again, still a good 5 days or so of a lull, but after that, we'll have to watch for development chances increasing. And the GFS isn't the only model showing this. I'll show you the European as well. Again, now through this weekend looks quiet, but we get into next week, and here we go. Again, a tropical wave here, more tropical waves behind it, coming off the southern coast of Africa at a more favorable position, more favorable latitude. And eventually these try to develop, and even the European develops this one into a tropical depression or storm in 7 to 10 days. So even this is even before we get to September. So we've got time here. Do not let your guard down, but we can breathe a little bit for the next week or so before, again, I think things start to pick back up way out in the Atlantic here. And just to show this to you again in another way here, our GFS ensemble members, this is a pretty good uptick from yesterday. Again, indicating the chance that some of these waves may try to get their act together in that 7 to 10 day range. And again, this is only going out 10 days. So I could show you further out and there'd be even more lines on your map here. But again, I think 10 days is a safe kind of date to keep it at here. So again, signs of life out there in the long run. Now, I've said it a million times, I'll say it again. Now through this weekend, I think we're good. I don't think we're going to have to worry about tropical development, but starting next week, I do think the chances increase. And the European and its ensemble members, not a huge signal here by any means, but definitely some noise that we'll watch for here. And you'll even notice, again, a couple of these out here into the Gulf of Mexico. We'll have to watch for these fronts that kind of drape down near, the southeast coastline and near the Gulf of Mexico coastline. Could try to develop into something. But not really expecting that right now. But it is something we'll have to, keep an eye on, and we absolutely will here throughout the rest of hurricane season. All right. I know that wasn't a lot for the hurricane side of things, but again, we're kind of in a little bit of a lull right now, so I don't want to, talk it to death here whenever there's not a whole lot going on. So that's what we'll leave the tropics at, and we'll have an updated map for you tomorrow on the latest from the Climate Prediction Center for the tropics and their week 2 and week 3 outlook. I've shown that a lot recently. I didn't show it today because they're coming out with a new map this afternoon, so by the time you're watching this, it'll be new and updated, and it wasn't necessarily needed to talk about what we talked about. But again, I'll have an updated one of those for tomorrow morning's video. And have the latest on that. So let's switch gears here, and talk a little bit about what's going on in the lower 48 and what's to come over the next good little bit here. And right now, all that nice fall dry air that we've been talking about is really starting to funnel into the eastern half of the country. Now, unfortunately, some of us are going to get robbed of this a little bit, and you're probably wondering why. Well, I'll talk about why in a moment here, but all things considered, many of us getting out on those much nicer conditions for this Tuesday, really starting to feel that change in the air, especially through the Ohio River Valley and the Great Lakes region. And if you happen to be watching from up here in this kind of portion of Canada, definitely feeling it as well with that drier air. Now, so just kind of the way that this is working, we have one trough over the Pacific Northwest. You can see with this low pressure system here. We've got this other big trough over the eastern United States. And in between the two, we've got a big old ridge in place, which I'll kind of draw there in yellow. So what's happening is we're getting flow like this into this ridge. And that's going to make it very hot, muggy, and humid through the central plains over the next couple of days, and also going to increase some storm activity kind of where these are meeting. So again, into portions here of the Great Plains and into the Rockies, we are going to see increased chances for severe weather over the next couple of days, so we'll need to watch out for that. Also, again, watching this low pressure system over the Pacific Northwest, eventually going to move inland, and could eventually become our next storm system over the country. If not that one, then we have more low pressure behind it that's going to try to work on through. And we're getting to that time of year. We're getting to mid-latitude cyclone season, one of my favorite times of year to forecast weather because there's just a lot that comes with it. And we'll definitely watch for that here in the medium run, but we'll take another look at that here in a second in a more defined look. All right, current radar imagery, things again relatively quiet. We do have some showers and storms here over portions of New England, seeing some of those work through the Boston area. Again, we've got some showers and storms over Florida as that front continues to kind of just drape over those areas, but most of the shower activity currently is over the Great Plains from Nebraska into the Dakotas and down towards Kansas. Again, we'll have to watch any of these waves of storms for some severe weather over the next couple of days as it kind of rides this ridge and that trough where those two are meeting. Definitely could produce some strong straight line winds, some large hail, and cannot rule out an isolated tornado or two, but really wind and hail will probably be the biggest threat with this setup. Also, I will note, kind of here at the top corner of your screen, we are seeing those showers also from that low pressure up into portions of Washington State, bringing some rainfall for you folks, which is probably a sign of things to come getting towards your rainy season here as we move the clock forward. Now, watches, warnings, and advisories, we're in a little bit of a lull here as well. We do have some excessive heat warnings and watches up through much of Texas, from Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, back towards Houston. Again, you're under that ridge, so you're not under that nicer trough that's bringing that drier, cooler air, but unfortunately under that heat dome is another way to call it. Outside of that, really not much going on here on this map, so just kind of breeze on through it. We'll take a look here at our 500 millibar height anomaly map for the foreseeable future. Now, this is tomorrow into Thursday. I'll just go ahead and circle a couple things here. One up into the northeast. Actually, you know what I should do probably so we can see this even better is change the map back this way. There we go. Perfect. So again, we've got one area in the northeast here. We have another area back into the Pacific Northwest. Both of these are mid-level or upper level lows. So not necessarily low pressure at the surface, but what is happening here is these are bringing some shower activity with them and some cold air aloft. So that's something that is going to be important here for the forecast. Also, what's happening throughout the next couple of days is we do have a little bit of a feature here near the southeast coastline that is bringing some onshore flow into portions of Georgia and the Carolinas over the next couple of days. And that is going to be a bit of a spoiler in that fall air forecast for some folks. Specifically coastal South Carolina, coastal Georgia, and Florida. Many of us in the east of, or especially east of the Mississippi, I should say, are going to get in on that nicer, drier air. But one feature is going to try to knock that back a little bit, and I'll show you that on the next map. So those are two players on the field. Again, that big low pressure system trying to move on through the Pacific Northwest. That's going to bring some increased rain and some mountain snow as well, and eventually could turn into a bigger storm system on down the road here. And we'll take a look at that as we move this through this week into the weekend. Unfortunately, going into this weekend, that nicer air that's in the east is slowly going to deteriorate and more humid, muggy summertime air is going to take over again. But look what's happening out into the Pacific Northwest, a big time trough here. And depending on the track it takes, could turn it into a pretty good mid-latitude cyclone. Now, yesterday the models were kind of bringing this right through the northern tier of the country and bringing a pretty good storm system that way. Overnight though, and the latest model runs we have bring it a little bit further up into Canada, but then on the backside, try to bring a trough or two back into the picture, whether that be in the east or one into the Great Plains. We'll have to wait and see. But I do think we're going to get some sort of storm system in the 7 to 10 day range over the country to track. And, we'll definitely keep you updated on that and when it'll happen and what the impacts will be. But just a little too soon to know exactly what is expected there. All right, so let's take a look at this dew point map, because again, this is that fall air forecast, if you will. Anything you see in kind of these orange colors or even these yellow colors, those are less comfortable temperatures. The greens and the blues you see are much more comfortable dew point temperatures. And again, this basically is just a measure of how much moisture is in the atmosphere, but it's a better tool to use than humidity when forecasting how comfortable it is outside. Now, humidity is very important when forecasting rainfall and, whether we're going to see condensation or not, but dew point's a little bit more important for, how muggy it is outside, or the muggy meter, if you will. So this is this morning, and I'll just go ahead and move this ahead into this afternoon. If the map works with me here, let's see. Move this into this afternoon. Here we go. So again, this is getting into this afternoon and evening. You'll notice many of us, again, are in these very comfortable dew point temperatures down through the Ohio, Tennessee River Valley, up into the Northeast. But there's one area that's just holding on for dear life, unfortunately, onto these dew point values still in the 60s from kind of the Midlands and the coastal areas of South Carolina, eastern North Carolina, down through Georgia and the Florida Peninsula, and even down into portions of southeastern Virginia. Now, I do think it'll get beaten back a bit if we move this into our Wednesday morning here and even into Wednesday afternoon. You'll notice it's there, but it's not quite as bad. So a dew point of 59, 60 is still pretty good for this time of year, but it's not nearly as nice as the dew points in the 40s that we could see potentially up into the Ohio River Valley. So again, this is Wednesday afternoon. It's going to feel great for a lot of folks, and I'll show you the temperature map here next as well. I didn't pull it up, but I'll pull it up on the fly here for you. Again, it's just going to be, it's going to be nice for a lot of folks. But basically what's causing this problem, though, is you'll notice this little kind of isobar here that's kinking here, a little bit of some low pressure trying to form here, and that's increasing flow, or I guess high pressure, I should say. That's increasing flow here into the Carolinas. And unfortunately, bringing more of that onshore flow off the Atlantic, it's increasing that mugginess a little bit. So the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, will still get a taste of that fall air. Just might not be quite as nice as the other parts of the country that are feeling it, which I feel like we've been robbed all year by this. But nonetheless, that's the forecast. And then we get into overnight Wednesday into Thursday. Yeah, that pocket of not so nice air really trying to come back with a vengeance. And kind of spoil some of that fall air. But for most of us, still the forecast is nicer air. And another thing I'll add on top of that is that it's going to increase some shower activity. So this is this afternoon and evening. The Northeast, again, we will see increased shower activity due to that upper level low I was talking about. Also into the Southeast, again, that onshore flow is going to increase some showers here near the coast. And eventually, as we get later into tomorrow, as that muggy air mass tries to move a little bit further inland, could even see some showers and storms a little bit further into Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and especially the Florida Peninsula. While that's happening, still dealing with that ongoing shower activity from that upper level low in the Northeast. So for most of us, again, a beautiful couple of days here with that fall air. Some of us, though, are going to be fighting a couple other weather systems here that are going to make it not so nice. So definitely going to keep an eye on that for you. And again, just cross your fingers here in Charlotte. Trust me, my fingers are crossed that we can beat back that muggy air a little bit and keep that drier air in place. Again, even a dew point of 60 is nice. It's better than the 75-degree dew point we've had the past couple of days, but really hoping for as low as we can get here on the dew point map. And I forgot I was going to mention the temperature map, so let me pull that up here and give you that forecast as well. All right, so temperature-wise, we'll go ahead and move this back into this afternoon. So this is about 5 p.m. Eastern this evening. And again, you'll notice it's beautiful for many of us. Now, if you're back towards Texas, again, that heat dome is just, it's right over you, and it's not really given up. But east of the Mississippi here, especially the Ohio River Valley and the interior Northeast, look at some of these temperatures up into New York State. I mean, some of these higher terrains, we're not going to break the 50s. That upper level low, again, it's providing that cold air. It's bringing it down to the surface with some of that rainfall. And it's really making it feel like fall. But the Ohio River Valley up into the 70s this afternoon, beautiful, more fall-like weather. But we're going to run into kind of that battleground zone, if you will, a little bit here into the southeast. Again, I think places like Charlotte, Raleigh, Greensboro, much of Virginia, we're going to stay in the 80s today, but you get down towards Atlanta, much of Alabama, Mississippi, going to be pushing the 90s a little bit more. So it's still going to feel like summer, definitely, but we'll be a tad drier in the air. And we get into tomorrow afternoon. Actually, I'm going to go into tomorrow morning. This is tomorrow morning. Again, widespread 40s for lows for the Ohio River Valley, the Great Lakes, the interior Northeast. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple 30s in the higher terrains up into portions of West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and northbound. But again, it's going to be a bit of a chilly morning compared to what we have seen recently. Might need a sweater out there. Lows in the 60s for much of the South. Unfortunately, still going to be dealing with 70s into southern sections of Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida. But again, nonetheless, nicer than it has been. And then we get into Wednesday afternoon with these high temperatures. And again, pretty similar to today for tomorrow as well. For those temperatures. So again, we'll keep you updated on that, but that's the latest for the East. Let's take a look at the West real quick and discuss kind of what's happening out here. Sorry, I just have to check the clock because I do have to go to class eventually. Again, as I talked about out west, we do have this ridge as well as kind of a trough at the same time working in tandem. Basically what that's doing, if you follow the ISO bars here, we're getting some pretty good flow out of the Pacific and out of Baja California. That's helping to really increase that monsoonal flow here through the Four Corners region. And we've talked about that a little bit here the past couple of days. Again, going to see some pretty good rain showers in this region. Also, going to see some severe weather as well. So it's a little bit of a 1-2 punch. Not a severe weather outbreak by any means, nothing we haven't seen before. But you'll notice getting into this afternoon, rain chances definitely increasing out this way. Dying down a little bit during the evening hours, but then we get to Wednesday afternoon and more rain chances increasing with the slight threat of severe weather. Also, that low pressure in the Pacific Northwest trying to move inland, bringing some more of that rain through Washington State, maybe even coastal Oregon throughout much of the afternoon on Wednesday. And again, really increasing those rain chances though into the Rockies and the Great Plains. I mentioned that at the start of the video. Again, any of those storms could try to turn severe. And then this is getting overnight Wednesday into Thursday as far as this model goes. You'll notice just kind of more of the same. So both sides of the country getting in on some active weather here. Not everyone's seeing nice weather, unfortunately, but a lot of us still are. And we move this ahead into time. Again, now looking at kind of the medium to long run, I am expecting, again, some sort of low pressure later this week to try to form out here into the Great Plains. That could increase a little bit of a severe weather threat Thursday through the northern tier of the country there. Also, again, watching these rain chances increasing through Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina as that onshore flow kind of tries to ruin the forecast here a little bit. This is, again, Thursday afternoon, and then some rain hanging on into the northeast due to that upper level low. Now we move this further ahead towards this weekend, and unfortunately, again, the dew point's going to start to creep back up a little bit, but rain chances remain relatively low, except for the places I just mentioned. That's going to hang on this weekend. Now, it should die down a little bit in the northeast. That upper level low should move out, but specifically the southeast here, specifically Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, could see some increased rain chances throughout the week into the weekend. But notice going later on this week, we've got low pressure forming back out here towards the Pacific Northwest. That's going to try to move inland here. Again, bringing some mountain snow with it for sure, but we're going to need to see what happens after it exits the Rockies. Latest models form a pretty good low pressure, but quite far up into Canada. That would limit impacts to the United States. But then after that, the European brings a bigger storm system and a stronger one further south towards the United States-Canada border, and could bring some very interesting weather in the 7 to 10 day range through portions of the country. Now, it's getting that time of the year. These big storm systems are tracking further and further south, so I wouldn't expect to track through the Ohio River Valley or the southeast by any means, but we could see these low pressures start to work through the northern Great Plains for sure as we end August here and start September. Now, taking a look at that dew point map one more time, just to kind of show you how long this dry air will last. Again, it's going to be nice the next couple of days. We'll pick this up on Thursday, kind of where we left off. Watching for those dew points creeping up in the southeast. It's still going to be muggy in the Great Plains as well. But we move this into this weekend. A lot of us still holding on to that drier air into the northeast, the mid-Atlantic. But we get into next week, and unfortunately, that more muggy air really takes over and could last for a while. But then you notice, again, this is way out there, but should we get a big storm system at any point, could bring a powerful cold front with it, and drier air once again could try to return in the long run. But again, just to summarize, next couple of days going to be nice. Starting this weekend into next week, it's going to start to get muggy again and won't be quite as nice. Unfortunately, going to feel like summer again. Unless you're a fan of summer and you're a fan of muggy air. Personally, not so much. At least not in late August, start of September. But that's the forecast there. So total snowfall, again, I'm showing it to you just for fun, really. Not many people are going to see the snow unless you just happen to live on top of a mountain, but we are getting into that time of the year. We are going to see increased snow chances out here. So again, a couple places definitely could pick up some snowfall totals, specifically the really high terrains here. Notice some of these areas, the highest terrains of Washington State, again, could pick up even a couple of inches. Back towards Yellowstone could pick up a couple of inches. Again, not really going to impact many people, but just fun to look at this time of year. And then taking a look at rainfall over the next 7 days. Again, a couple places to highlight: the northeast with that upper level low, the southeast with that strong onshore flow, especially the state of Florida. But Georgia, South Carolina, don't let your guard down. Could see some showers and storms. The Pacific Northwest with that storm system, and then into the Rockies with that monsoonal flow that is to come. So again, it's going to be an interesting couple of days here. Relatively quiet, all things considered, but still some things to track here, and we'll continue to keep you up to date. Alrighty, folks. Again, I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in, even during these slower times. It means the world to me, and really, I'm pretty excited for when things pick up. I really think the channel is gonna have a pretty good run here going through the fall and into the winter, especially, which is kind of my specialty here on the channel, is talking winter weather. But all right, y'all have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Enjoy it, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow.